All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Burbank, California, here at the ESL Studios for the North American Qualifiers for the ESL One Major. Joined with Sadakis in blue here. Our next matchup is going to be the second match in Group B. It's going to be Mythic versus Maximum Effort. The two teams left without an organization in the past week going to be facing off here.
Interesting dynamic as well for specifically X-Luminosity, as Fallen, who, if you remember, Peter was coaching with Keatstars for a while. Fallen's now coaching them, and he's the one wearing the Luminosity.
Is he actually standing behind him?
Yeah,
I know,
he's
here
right now. Yeah, so he's got the Luminosity jacket on.
Yeah.
It's kind of
just a little helpful playback. Yeah, but that does seem a little awkward. But either way, these two teams going up against each other. We talked about Mythic as a team that went to the ESEA Pro League finals in Cologne earlier this month, and the ex-Nihilum team was the guys who were like really competing for that spot. So these are two teams who have matched up pretty well historically in the past.
Yeah, and overall, some of the big stories that came out specifically for Mythic here was recently the pickup of Devilwalk coming off previously as the coach of Fanatics. That was a big story there. What is everybody's thoughts on that one coming out? Because it's been an interesting few weeks with him on the roster.
Well, that's the interesting thing. Yes, picking him up, he brings a lot of experience to the organization. He made a list of 15 basically rules that when he joined the team, he said if anyone breaks any of these rules, whether it's raging, I don't know what the list entails of, but assuming, raging, not being at practice on time, not practicing serious enough, stuff like that, they would be fined away from their salary or their winnings, whatever it may be. So that, first off, bringing that structure is a big increase to what this team had. But the bigger aspect of him coming over now in the situation that this team is in, and now they're not going to be going back to the gaming house for both him and Pith right now, some awkward times ahead in terms of how this pans out and where they end up with a new home. But I think Devilwalk overall, yes, they got rid of Naf, who I would argue potentially has more individual skill, brings a lot of structure to the team.
Yeah, they lost firepower for that structure, for that more strategic mind. That's the thing. One other thing I do want to bring up with, because I talked to Devilwalk just last weekend, and it was one of the things that he was planning on doing. He said their communication has been great. But the issue they have is actually listening to each other's communication. So he said the whole week of practice leading up to this event was going to be them playing with as little in-game, like they were going to turn the volume off in Counter-Strike during their practice, just so that if you wanted to succeed, you were going to have to listen to your teammates, which is really, really interesting. That's very extreme, and I'm very interested to see how that works out for him. We got Hiko smiling up at the camera. This is
what I pointed out earlier. Yeah, this is what I pointed out earlier, by the way. The teams with the best jerseys, we can see they're all just casually dressed this week. So that'll change soon, I'm sure, hopefully, for these two teams. But Hiko's just sporting his own brand.
Yeah, and that's the big thing, because with him and Semphis this season, talking to Hiko, he was like, I had an average season. It was Semphis who had like the best season. Statistically, in the ESEA Pro League, he was top of North America, and just like most of the statistics. So, I mean, he knows that there's some firepower in that team still with Semphis and Hiko there. Yeah,
I think Semphis has been lights out for them this season. He's turned things around massively.
Another interesting thing that we ended up seeing recently coming out, more specifically for Hiko than for the X-Nihilum / Maximum Effort guys, was actually Hiko recently playing with Flipside back over at ESWC, and he had actually tweeted out that he learned quite a bit about the way that the European team ended up doing their shot calling and how they kind of strategize and organize a lot of their map calls. So hopefully he can bring some of that into this team and his own team in today's tournament.
Yeah, and here on the screen we have Mythic, who, I mean, they're well documented. On top of everything, they're the team who's, had some success online, haven't really been able to convert that into their tournament play. Some really, really tough tournaments recently for them. Now they have all these question marks hanging up, getting dropped by the org, the deal with the gaming house, whatever that all comes through. This is so much stress to have on a team who hasn't been able to find that success. And even with Devilwalk coming over, with all this looming over their heads, has he really had a fair chance at turning this ship around?
Yeah, well, that's the big thing. How much can they really get done with all the drama that's been happening with them as a team? Obviously, we mentioned CLG in the gaming house. They themselves have been in a gaming house in North York, just above Toronto. It's one of the suburbs in Toronto. And like you said, the attitude among the team's good, the communication's good, but it is a matter of time. And with this much other stuff going on, the focus gets pulled away quite massively.
Oh yeah, very much so. So and now, I mean, they have Peter here on screen, who formerly with CLG, well documented. We all know about that. These are players. They have a pretty solid core in them. With Pitt, they have Devilwalk, who brings that. Peter and Anger, it's the two members. It's that same issue that we just talked about with Tarek in the last match, Sadakis, was you need that consistency in these players. We've seen them rise to really good levels. They don't hit that peak consistently. And here against...
Well, one of the things, just to go back to that, not even on the consistency front for Peter, but this year we've seen a bit of a transformation in his attitude in game, his sort of maturity, not going for crazy peaks, dropping the op, picking up an AK in one-on-one situations, not always looking for that fancy hero moment, and just being more stable as a teammate, which I think is something he's really worked on well now that he's joined into this LG roster.
Yeah, and I mean, with all the players on these teams, they have some pretty big names, some pretty popular names among the community, especially in North America. I mean, Blue, what's going to be this head-to-head matchup to really look out for? Like, where's this going to be won and lost for each of these teams?
I think a big thing to keep an eye on, specifically for the Mythic guys, is going to be Pit. Pit is an extremely crucial part of the fragging power for the Mythic side of things, and if he comes out strong today, then we're definitely going to be seeing on T side the entries, and on CT, assuming, of course, he's on the correct side, we're going to be seeing really strong defenses coming out from him. But if he does lapse it today a little bit, then it's definitely going to hurt the team a lot more, and someone else is going to have to step up to the plate.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point. And that's the thing with everything that we just talked about going on. You get out to a slow start, things can snowball in the wrong direction very, very quickly. I think it's going to be interesting because all through the online season, Semphis was an opper. I think people have kind of forgotten that he turned himself into the sniper role for this maximum effort side. And I'm intrigued if he is going to keep that up here at this tournament because he's not known for that previously.
No, not at all. But again, you mentioned his stats this year in the Pro League. He had like 95 ADR over the whole season. ADR, for those of you who don't know, average damage per round. I mean, if you're doing 95 damage, you're leaving although that could be spread out, you're potentially leaving someone with 5 HP per round. That's so much work done for your teammates to make things easier, and that's on rounds you're losing. That's every single round. He's got that much contribution to the map. The other thing for me, though, is just seeing how Desi's going to fit into this Nihilum roster. We haven't seen a whole lot of it yet. I call them Nihilum just because most people are familiar with that maximum effort. And obviously, he's got experience on various different teams. He had a stint with iBuyPower, and he's gone through a number of teams
He's been America's ringer.
He really has been. And I'm curious to see how they're going to utilize him because he's a player that some people have called out. And I know Dazed has been one such person who's made this mention, is that he's a bit of a stat patter at times and doesn't necessarily play his role as he should and gets a little bit individual at times. So I'm curious to see with Hiko on a team or someone who's already in that lurk role where Desi's going to fit in.
Well, I know, especially on CT sides, Desi's that player who, he'll play an individual bomb site, but he'll get aggressive. If he's not feeling pressure, he's going to push up and he's going to look for something. And that's the thing. He's that guy who wants to make that play, so he's going to make that push, and either he's going to get punished for it or it's going to turn into a massive flank that he has that's just so unexpected. He likes to push the extremities of the map.
Another thing to look forward to, or another thing to keep an eye on, I think, in this match for the guys on Nihilum/Maximum Effort is going to be the overall sort of aggressive strategy that the players here on Maximum Effort tend to do in terms of their economy. I mean, we've seen this consistently. They kind of turn it on and off it sometimes, but for the most part, they always have this super crazy strategy where they just continue to force buy and continue to push the envelope on their opponents no matter what the circumstances may be, and that seems to have a hit or miss moments at times.
Yeah, well, that's that Semphis kind of mentality that he brought over, because Cloud9 used to be known for that when he was on the team. And yeah, that's the thing. Teams who have a tendency to do that, we've talked about, if it's not being successful, at a certain point you have to stop and go away. But you have to pick and choose that time, because if you keep up with it for too long, then you've just gotten out of hand. It might just be too far gone for you to really catch up with.
The other interesting dynamic, and this is kind of stepping a bit back into a broader perspective on this Group B, was what Tarek said in the interview with Blue, actually, at the end of the last game, is that topping this group, where C9 topped the other group and they cross over for the semifinal, means that you don't have to play Cloud9. So there's a lot to play for in that alone. So not just winning this matchup, but, I mean, think about that. Cloud9 is the last team you want to play. So if you get second in this group, you're going to be facing them, and that's, I mean, you really got to go all out. There's
in a best of 3 as well.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There's a really interesting dynamic there in terms of making sure that you win out today for this. And CLG obviously took the first step in doing that. One of these two teams is about to do the same. And there's, I mean, even still, with that said, we already talked about it, how there's less disparity between the top and the bottom in this group. So every match is going to be pretty challenging for all these teams.
Yeah, especially with Cloud9 just looming, just waiting for their opponent on the other side. That's a good point that he makes. So it's a very scary thing to do. And here on Cash, which is actually going to be the map, we saw it earlier. How's this going to turn out? How's it going to play out? Because the ops we saw on the CT side, double op setups were absolutely dominant on this map. Once a team picked up that double op setup, they would go on like a 3 or 4 round run, where they just defense was set.
Yeah, I've always been a fan of the double op on this map, to be completely honest. I think that there's just a lot of different ways you can approach it, and how that when you do bring it out, being on A, being on B, you can play mid with 3 rifles. You can get the op in mid. You can go to the rifles stacked up onto a site. There's a lot of potential to bring that out CT side. T-side op, yeah, I mean, Semphis has been using it all season here. I don't know, I think this map actually looks pretty good for both sides. I know Mythic have played it a lot. Lex is fairly stable inside the B side on his individual holds, which gives him a bit more confidence to rotate out earlier and also potentially stack someone in the vents at mid, not necessarily directly in B. So Mythic's CT side here looks all right. I'm not as familiar, at least recently, with their T side, so I'm going to be curious to see how they use that all the way through.
And another thing, just to go back to the maximum effort players here for a second as well, we've been seeing them in a decent amount of online play recently, but not a whole lot of LAN experience. And LG have had a couple chances, or apologies, XLG / Mythic guys have actually had a decent amount of chances to get exposure against some of these international teams, against some of the European teams. They might have learned a lot from that, whereas the maximum effort guys, unfortunately, they really haven't had that chance. So there's that little bit of an experience gap there. Now, granted, again, these guys have played each other recently in times, and it's still been fairly close, so we're going to have to wait and see. But another question to keep in mind as well is Mythic and their LAN performance recently, and where they have often stumbled quite a bit is here on LANs.
A lot of people that are bringing that up. I mean, I think there was something like 40-6 online over the last couple months, and then on LAN they were like 0-13 until last week at SIVA when they finally picked up a map.
Yeah, but overall lost that best of 3 that they were involved in where they got that map. So you
still
can take
got
that
the
whichever,
turtle, you get the monkey off the back, the turtle, whatever it is. Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of the struggle.
They haven't steady progress.
They haven't found ways. They haven't found ways to put that together, and that was the entire point of bringing Devilwalk in, was to get a more stable voice, a more confident, a more experienced voice behind him to kind of change some things up, to make sure they're playing the game properly. And that's the question: has he had enough time? Is he going to be able to? Are we going to see those changes in this matchup today?
We also talked a little bit earlier, too. We brought him up for a moment, but I wanted to bring him up again here as well and get your guys' thoughts on Anger, actually, as one of the players here for Mythic. We've seen him again. He's had some games where he just goes absolutely crazy, but other games where he kind of floats in the middle and does kind of average for the team. So what are your thoughts on him coming into this event?
That's kind of a confidence issue. I think with the amount that they've just been getting beaten up at these tournaments, I think a lot of them have lost their confidence, especially with this whole organizational thing looming over their heads. I think it's tough for them to get into the rhythm of a game. They have so much on their minds at the moment. Not to make excuses, because he was playing up and down like this before all this stuff occurred. But I mean, that's the thing. Anger's got to find ways to make the plays that he makes on lines. He's got to do it here for his team. They can't have him playing differently and not be able to rely on what he brought to the table all season.
And Anger's had such a long career as a Counter-Strike player as well. You go back to CSS from the Dynamic days. Exactly, and he was a top member there. The thing that with me, at least in my history, watching him as a player is, yes, online he can be an absolute force to be reckoned with, but again, slightly quiet at times, and lands are wavery. You get an occasional good performance here and there, but overall it's kind of a dud a lot of the times. Yes, he's getting kills and contributing here and there, but it's not like he's coming out with what people often expect of him based on his pedigree. I mean, remember, this is also a player that was iBuyPower, got switched over to Complexity in the initial swag deal, and then kind of jumped around since.
That also brings up a thing where they drop Naf to bring in Devilwalk. They give up that firepower. We just saw Naf last game. Despite his team losing, he was putting up some numbers. He had some great rounds for him. We've seen him with other teams putting up great numbers. So they've lost a lot of firepower. Someone who could have made up for less frags from another one of his teammates.
Yeah, and I think that has been part of the reason as to why we may or may not have been seeing the maximum effort players do so well on LAN. It's just they are at times missing that little bit of firepower that is needed to push them over the edge. But anyway, guys, we are going into the map now, which means we should be getting started here pretty soon. We still have a few more moments, but it is going to be on Cash, of course. And Cash is based purely on statistics. I would have to personally say this is one that Mythic has to take. They currently sit with their current roster, of course, and most of these results coming out of recent SIVA LAN. They currently sit at an 80% win rate here on Cash, whereas the players back over here on Maximum Effort, unfortunately, are a little bit lower, and they sit at only about a 46% win rate.
Yeah, it's significantly lower, actually, when you put it into numbers. But numbers mean one thing. Again, Mythic CT side I love. But, I mean, I don't know, what's your thoughts on reading it directly? Just
to give you some parting thoughts as we get into the knife round, I hand it off to you guys, is, despite everything we're saying, two people we've mentioned but haven't talked about in depth is Hiko and Semphis, with, the plays that the experience that they have, with the great performances on LAN that they've had in the past. These are two players who are very, very dangerous to go against if you're anybody. And with that thought, I'll leave you guys to it.
And the interesting thought, thank you very much, Moses, is we get into it. And the interesting thought as well to go along with those numbers is when he brought up the point of Semphis and Hiko. The first game Hiko played with them, they had an exceptional CT side, something like 72% on the CT side win rate, and then that diminished over the season. That slowly went back the other way. So we'll see if they can get their CT side rolling in response. Again, though, Cash, we mentioned it this morning, it's a make or break side of the team. You've got to have execution, you've got to have a plan in place, and you need to give yourself a chance when you swap over. 6 rounds, I think, has to be the minimum.
Yep, definitely. And I guess we'll just do a prediction here while we're waiting for the players to ready up and get themselves started for the first round.
I'm scared of this game.
So what's your prediction going into this one? Who do you think is going to win personally?
I mean, when you look at individual skill on these lineups, I would still favor Maximum Effort with the way Semphis has been playing this year, and with Hiko on that team. Sanks is a pretty solid player. Desi obviously is well known for being individually skilled. There's definitely some skill on the other side as well. I mean, Pith coming over has played pretty solid. Peter, when he has his games. But you definitely look individual skill toward Maximum Effort. That said, based on how Mythic play this map and the history of it, I think they could squeak this out, but it's going to be close. This is going to be double digits for both teams easily. I'm going to say 16-13.
I'll agree with that one. I would have to say a little bit towards Mythic. I'd probably say something around 16-11. But of course, guys, we are now live into the first round here. Mythic on the CT side, maximum effort back on the T side, and they're already lining themselves up for a push, but look at this position being taken here by Devilwalk. Unfortunately, Desi's going to spot that out very quickly, pick off a headshot, and now they're on their way in, but Anger grabbing that mid-air headshot, the smoke will come out. Does get a spot on Desi, but now they'll pick up the frag, and now Maximum Effort going to get partial control of the B site.
The interesting thing, though, is that Semphis is pushed all the way through mid, so even though they're lining up for a retake from both sides of the B site, Semphis might be in position to slow that down, and he's going to do exactly that coming up from heaven right now. He'll take down Pith. Meanwhile, Mythic, they've got two players quickly on the heels of B main, and it's all going to work out perfectly for them. All dead and gone. Semphis, the last one to drop. Excellent retake.
And now Peter coming out there pretty big there with 3 kills as well. Great start for the Mythic guys and a good hold onto their CT. Exactly what they need to start this off. And as for Maximum Effort, this is a big question now. Do we see them continue that aggressive buying strategy here just on their second round? Will they force up with those upgraded pistols, or are they going to relax here for a little bit and wait for the first gun round?
So we'll see 2 SMGs come out. It's going to be triple FAMAS. And aggressive, like you say, for Maximum Effort this time, and needing to get a bomb plant down here as they've gone heavy. They got the first bomb plant. That's a start, but we'll see if they can get another, because that would really just open things up on third round. And Pitt's going to be solo on A. They've got 2 players supporting from Highway that'll look to rotate quickly. Anger's dropped from Vents. He's gone back toward B, so he's got a long rotation point, which means Lex and Peter have to be able to support Pitt and keep the efficiency inside the site. And already Pitt is making that play. Looks like it could be a possibility as Peter coming back in. He'll take down Semphis. Finally, the trades go back the other direction. And it is Maximum Effort who find the man advantage, dropping both Peter and Pitt.
Anger looking for a way to fall back as a grenade does connect back over onto Valens. It brings him down to just 7 HP. Keep in mind, low HP back over on Sank as well, down at 21. Anger is going to be able to possibly chase down, or successfully chase down, Devilwalk picking up another frag, but Desi to respond. He brings us into a one-on-one with Anger, and now we have to see here, Desi trying to hold this off and get the response round here for his team. He does bring him down very low, 21 HP left, and Anger gets closer and closer, trying to connect that spray, but having a little bit of trouble, but Desi does clutch it out for the Maximum Effort side, and that's going to bring it up to a 1-to-1.
Very well done by Desi to hold his composure and figure out exactly the movement of his opposition. Very good overall to get the eco as well, considering that when things started to go into that site, we saw Pith to get those first kills, but it was the trades that came immediately back, and that force buy has dividends. They go straight to 3 AKs. They'll keep the Tech 9 on Valens, who's the strat caller for them, and Semphis will keep out the MP9.
And Mythic most certainly know that those aggressive strats are going to be prevalent here, so they try to pull some of their own as they push themselves way over here into Squeak Hall. Desi already picking up one. Peter trying to get the slow peaks here to pick off one more, but not going to happen, and he claims 2 lives, both Lex as well as Peter.
While all this is happening, though, look at Semphis' position. He knows that they've pushed out long. There's going to be no one in mid. He takes full advantage of the map as a response to that. Really well played by him, and he gets the shot on a Devilwalk.
And it's going to be Pith over here that tries to hide out back over on side of the upper cat here on A site, but not much luck in that one. Pith is going to fall in Anger now, the last one. Getting digged down to 20 HP, and it looks like he's going to fall pretty quickly after that one. So Maximum Effort kicking it up to 2-0 and not losing anybody else here as well. And as well, we're going to be looking at Semphis stacking up quite a lot of money, as is Desi at this point already. He's both sitting at pretty close to 5K.
Yeah, good turnaround. I mean, just getting that eco. They'll keep what they have as well, so no upgrades. Just adds to the bank a little bit more. Valens keeping that Tech 9. A little bit more of an upgrade for the pistols, this time of the CTs, as we do have a CZ 257s brought out. Pith, Anger, they're going to be holding on to those. And the aggression this time won't exist. It's not going to be pushed, at least, although it will from Semphis. He goes right back in the middle. It's going to be a stack on B, and already we're seeing, although that bomb is way back toward T-spawn, already we're seeing information gathered by Maximum Effort as they take the map control of middle, and they'll soon realize A is wide open, but who's going to back get the bomb? It looks like Hiko's going to have to do that in a second here.
Valen's also sitting extremely close to pretty much everybody on Mythic at this point. If he goes for that peek into B side, he is going to get met with a nasty fate there. Meanwhile, of course, Desi having much better luck. He's going to be able to find a headshot there and take out Devilwalk, as well as Valens finding another shot back over here into Peter, but very quickly falling back, and for he meets more resistance. Unfortunately for the rest of Mythic, they're all kind of trapped here. Valens is holding their angle at which they're going to try to approach A. As for Maximum Effort, they pretty much have full control of the site right now.
Anger takes down Valens, at least for a little bit of a consolation, managing to take down one gun, but unfortunately that was the Tech 9, so it's not even like it was that important, and there was lots of players around to even recover it if it had been a rifle. Valens this time will take the MP9 from Valens. Semphis will go right to the AK-47, and talking with Semphis this week on halftime with Vulcan, we had him on his interview, and he said this is one of the things with Valens. He's more than willing, and actually he did upgrade to an AK here, but he's more than willing to constantly drop out guns. He knows his role is not to frag, just to lead, and he respects the talent he's got on the team and will always make sure that they are adequately equipped heading into the round. But it looks like they're going to put some pressure on a B here. Peter is inside the site, but Anger, more importantly, is inside the vents.
And he's going to be a little bit dangerous here, but that volley does come out to the ground. That's going to completely force Anger back. Takes about 20% of his HP off of that one. Peter forced to reposition here too, but a counter flash comes out and it saves his life for now. So he's going to be able to get into the corner. Gets a one-shot there, and Anger as well is going to be able to take down Desi. Now looking for more, but Valens does have a response to this one. He is going to be able to find Anger later on, and we'll see as well here with Hiko trying to work his way in. Pith will pick off Semphis. Hiko unfortunately gets dropped, but the rest of Mythic will clean things up here to bring the score up to 2-3 and take the first real gun round.
Yeah, and that's important that they get back into it immediately. So already a decent pace to this matchup, going back and forth as we see it. And Peter now with his op out. This could be interesting to see how this plays into the fold. There's lots of money still for Hiko, and okay, there it is. Sangst, he's going to go for the op.
We'll see how this gets responded to and where he's going to position himself with this one. It does look like at the moment they're going to push him with the main group, possibly put him up onto the boost, which would be a pretty typical position. But for now, he's holding back, and we'll have to see exactly where they put him for now, as he's actually going to be picking up the bomb, and he'll be hanging back a little bit closer to T-spawn for the time being, actually, as the rest of his team tries to work and set up for an A-take.
Well, fairly spread out. It's not necessarily going to be an A-take just yet. They've got Desi over towards Squeaky, just trying to lure and lurk anyone in that position. Hiko's inside A main. There's a smoke out, so he can play it from the lockers, look toward quad, get that angle preset. But the bomb and the rest of the team are still grouped up in the middle. In fact, Valens is now going over and doing a bit of reconnaissance inside the B tunnels. Anger's the only one left inside B because Lex has rotated out early. He's at sandbags in middle with Peter in behind him with the op at Z. So if they try and get a mid-presence here and get some establishment and overwhelm as they have done, and we've seen Semphis do in two rounds that we saw already, to get up close to that op on Peter, Lex is there to support it. Peter is actually going to bail out and head over toward B. Because they haven't got any information yet, and now we're looking toward A.
Yeah, it was a moment ago there too, Valens with just that single player on the B side. Had we have seen him go in and get that entry, and had they rotated quickly enough, that almost might have been a free sight. But now Mythic, unfortunately, misrotating a little bit here and moving Peter off just to go for that more typical split since they hadn't really gathered any info.
And this single smoke and flash that went in on Lex is going to hold him. He's not going to get toward highway, so Pith is going to be alone on this initial take, but it works out okay. He's got two so far, making a third. The Swede coming up massive right now. That allows Peter to get back in play, and he's going to take down Valens with the op. It's left to Semphis, and that's a bit of a tall task for Semphis to do. Pith surviving with 2 HP, and he was left alone to his own devices at the start of that take.
And what a huge hold coming out there from Pith as well. Pretty much secured the round for his team, able to tie things up and just barely keeping himself alive there too. Peter as well coming in with the clutch to save his life and pretty much secured the round for his team. Great hold by him and great peak timing there too. Essentially just walked right out and saw them as they were trying to enter the site.
Initial smoke from Peter on mid. That covers off Semphis in the garage, so he doesn't even look to get information. They're just going to group up, take these pistols, and go very quickly in toward B. So far, that's successful as Devil Walk pays the price initially, but Mythic, they hold true. The guns come out, and they pick up 3 response kills, leaving just Semphis and Hiko. Fitting that they're the last 2 remaining. We'll see what they can do with a Deagle and a P250, excuse me.
Anger trying to hold himself off while they waits for his teammates. Unfortunately, Semphis and Hiko not really want to try and peek this as they know the odds are very much against them, but Hiko deciding he needs to try and push something out here. Still a minute left on the clock. He tries to move in for Lex, but it's not going to come out too well there. Anger going to pick up another kill. He's going to come out of this one with a 4K, and Pith will actually claim the final frag there on the Semphis. Now Mythic take the lead 4-3, and this is where we start to see as well here. Obviously, again, the Max Buffer guys still in a pretty good position to buy after going a little bit lighter in the previous round, but this is where you have to see where the strategy develops for these guys and what kind of game plan they're going to have to try and get themselves back into this. T-side obviously is going to be a little bit lighter to their normal strategy, but it still does end up getting to a point, unfortunately, where you can't consistently continue to keep your aggressive buys going into this half.
So Peter back to the op. It's going to be aggression toward middle and Anger. You get aggressive, he gets angry. He's going to take the shot onto Semphis. They've got player inside the vents as well. That's Devil Walk. He now drops out due to the fact that the Molotov does come through, forcing him out of position. That leaves Lex at the sandbags. Anger's going to come down to support it, but Anger's only got 8 HP, and there you go. Poor timing for him to rejoin the battle at mid because the grenade was already in the air.
And Sang's coming out there. He's going to be able to pick up a headshot into Lex after Lex tried to get a little bit aggressive there and scout out for some info back over towards mid. So now we'll see the Maximum Effort guys take up the mantle here. And as for Sanks, he's still holding mid. He's probably going to group up with the rest of his team and work his way in through vents as they're all sneaking through B tunnels, or B halls, I should say, right now, trying to find their way into that site. And you can take a look at Mythic here. Unfortunately, the only player on that site is going to end up being Devil Walk. Still 2 positioned back over towards A. Peter's on a little bit of a faster rotation spot, and he's going to start to come in now after the smoke comes out. But it's our Maximum Effort. They need to try and execute this quickly, but it's all going to end up being a ruse as, again, they're all rotating back over towards A right now with Pith on the scout. The
interesting thing, though, is that Pith is exactly like you're saying, scouting this out. He's trying to get a little bit aggressive and get a read. The problem is He's so exposed when they come through. He may be able to catch the first one off guard. In fact, he goes for the peak, so that's not even going to happen, but it was going to be traded regardless, and now they're just going to walk in on top of A. Desi in the lurk over at B. He's gone down already, but again, job's done. Valen's going to plant this bomb, and now it's a tough task for the retake. It is still just a 3-on-2, so there's a chance for it. And Peter with the op got himself into an early position, but that smoke in place allows them to get secure post-plant situations. And what's the call going to look like? Yeah. This is exactly the right call. Go ahead and save these guns. They still have the lead. It'll be tied up 4-4, but this gives them a bit of a chance in the next round.
The other problem with going for a retake there would have been absolutely 0 grenades on the Mythic players. They would have had no way to really surprise Maximum Effort at all. They would have had to hope on some lucky shots or some aggressive peaks from Maximum Effort in order to pick off early kills and then re-enter from there without any smoke support or flash support for that matter.
They'll get away with these. Devil Walk in the corner. Eco's getting closer, but not close enough. So there it is. The round ends as we saw it last, and it's going to be 4-4 as mentioned. So what do they do? They've got decent money, 91.50, and, well, I didn't see Piths before the buy, but they've got enough. And by saving those 2 guns, they didn't actually have to force buy out on Anger. So this saves them another round potentially. As it's going to be AKs against them. The only op is going to be Peter this time. He's not going to have Sanks to counter op, but look at the smoke that's already on Peter. He can't even get in play inside middle, and they're actually playing a lot faster for Maximum Effort this round, as already they've made a presence inside A main. Now there is that initial smoke from Pith, but again, he's playing solo because there's some really long rotations as Peter gets in toward truck.
Yeah, a lot of people from Mythic here positioned back over towards the B rotation at this point, but they're going to start making their way towards A to hopefully come into way. But Valens, of course, he opens it up, and again, Anger really not getting a lot of intel out of that play, so that might pull a couple people over. They're going to go for the standard split right now, moving 2 players to either side, and as for Maximum Effort, they are going to go for this A main play. That was a good jump from Pith, as he is going to be able to see quite a few of the Maximum Effort players, but now this is going to prompt the rotation, and if Maximum Effort does decide to pull back and push into B instead, then it might end up hurting them more than it helps them since they've spotted this ink.
Desi just tossing out the nade toward the vents. They'll go for the boost. So light it ablaze and take over mid control, not having to worry about that additional angle. And Sanks being patient. Pith tried to find his own way in, and he's going to find another. He gets Peter as well. There was a kill that went toward Mythic and Valens, but that was over at B, so A is looking very probable. And Sempis again, he's playing the active Napoleon, divide and conquer, but he is going to be shut down by Lex in the end. And he's the only player left for Mythic right now. That is still not going to be enough potentially, as that bomb's been planted for quite some time, and there it is. Desi's going to close it out.
Unfortunately, he gets trapped in Z, and that would have essentially been a death trap for him had he stayed there. So trying to get away, but not going to happen. He goes down. Myth, of course, should still have enough for a rebuy here. Some of their players are looking kind of low, but might have enough for FAMAS play at the least here if they drop a couple of guns. Still deciding on if they want to go for it, but it does look like they are going to buy very, very late here, so actually their timings are going to be just a couple milliseconds off. Shouldn't be too much, but unfortunately the money, it did end up being a little bit low there, so we have a scout on Devil Walk. Peter still has the op at M4 on Lex, but Pith and Anger on those the unsuperior guns, and Anger, of course. But now we see Peter, he goes for that aggressive peek. He is going to scout out the 2 players from Maximum Effort, but he misses the shot and really doesn't gain any other intel besides that, so not going to see a whole lot of reaction, unfortunately.
Yeah, and it does give them the initial read not to rotate away from A potentially, but again, there's so much time left that it really won't amount to much. They can reset all of this on Maximum Effort's side, but Desi still stays tight. That smoke's going to go out in front of the door. He won't have a clear vision in to peek toward Catwalk.
He's patient, though. It seems like he'll be willing to wait for that one.
I'm more curious just about Valen's rotation right now, because they are setting up with 2 players inside A main, but Valens has the bomb all the way back over toward the mid-garage with Sempis. But here comes the, okay, so it is still going to be an A commitment. They are going to go back toward this. In fact, they're going to boost Sempis middle. Valens is going to do that and then take the bomb into A main. Finding that kill on Pith is going to open things up because he got impatient and wanted to get information. Now it leaves just Peter. Lex is trying to rotate quickly, but we'll see if he can get there in time. As the first shot, Peter can't even find it. Sanks gets the kill.
And now we see them moving into the site here. Lex is going to peek out. He finds one, but gets dropped by a second kill there. That comes out from Desi as he holds control. Hiko as well, looking to pick off Anger as he is stuck in this corner. And Desi coming through. He picks off another headshot, dropping Devil Walk. Now Anger, the last player alive here, and now stuck outside of this site as well. Not a lot of ways to get back in. He's got that smoke, but he's only got a scout, so it's going to be a quick drop from Valens to take him out. And that'll be another round going onto the board for Maximum Effort, who now leads 6-4 against Mythic.
Well, we called it was definitely going to be close, but Maximum Effort, they're definitely taking good use of map control. Again, using those Molotovs and vents to make sure they clear middle. The late boost for Sempis just to try and split. Obviously, that time he goes down. But they're being calculated on their executions, and I have to take my hats off to them there because now already 6 rounds. That was the number we said they should get at the very minimum on this half as round 11 starts. And Peter, back to the pistol. He's going to take all of his team, aside from Pith, who's been playing so well alone on A. and the 4 others are going to push into those B tunnels early to try and get that pistol train and wrap around on the offense, but Valens is already putting a stop to that. He's got his foot down on top of Lex. Peter's still alive. It's Pit that goes down inside to Hiko, so the bomb's dropped in the A, so it doesn't even matter. They're just going to go for the kills. Yeah, and you were actually asking about Valens earlier in the last round as to what his position is. It was kind of, that's his usual position to play out. He's sort of put himself as more of the lurker towards B there and kind of trying to figure out what's going on with that site. And I actually kind of like what they did with him on the previous round where they had him positioned there with the bomb, of course with another teammate just to be safe. But what I liked about that was, again, if the A play had gone wrong, they already had people positioned a little bit further towards mid and even arching over towards the B side to quickly rotate in. And I mean, had they have gotten side control anyway, it wouldn't have been a big deal because all they got to do is move the bomb in and they still have control of their side of middle, so it's not a big deal to move that bomb carrier in. The guns are back up this time, so it does change. They're leaving B completely open right now to stack for middle. And Devilwalk, he's pushed up into the cubby. Lex is going to set up a crossfire as he gets to the right of mid. I know how the X-ray is so misleading and revealing at the same time as he goes inside A main, but there's nothing they can do about it. They can high-five through the wall. Late smoke out, though. That's going to cover off Semphis, give Lex a lot more room to breathe. Looking like he might actually want to push this a little bit here, at the very least waiting for the push to come out from Maximum Effort, and Maximum Effort really sort of trying to test the waters here. They've gone for this 2-2-1 split, and really nobody trying their way in for A main. Hiko just trying to draw as much attention as possible over to that area, but not really finding anything and not really catching any bait as of yet. But now we see the entry coming off back over here. They're going to work their way into the B side, followed close behind, of course, by Lex along with Devilwalk, so that's going to get very dirty very quickly as Lex comes in. He's going to find that headshot in a Desi. And the problem with this is like a retake on the B site when the bomb's not even there. It's still down toward T-spawn. This was just an initial entry to see if they could clear some space on the map, and by losing these players this quickly, it gets a lot more awkward. Hiko's going to get 1 kill back on Anger. This will give him the chance to go back toward the bomb, but Pith has already realized that this is down, so he just has to secure it, and where Hiko's running that quickly, as they get down below the 30-second marks, it was telegrammed for Pith to easily just pop out with the timing. Devilwalk to close on Sangst. It was a good round all the way through there from Mythic. And a little bit unfortunate from Sangst there, too, that he kind of just rushed out of the site. Had he realized, and again, he doesn't have the intel that we had, but had he realized how low both Lex as well as Devilwalk were, he could have very easily just gone for a single tap on either of those players to take him out and bring that into a one-on-one situation. Timer's getting a little bit low, but had he have rushed back to the bomb quickly enough where you could pretty much predict that the last Mythic player would have been somewhere in that area, there may have still been a chance to clutch out that round. But of course, he doesn't really have that intel that we know, so he was just trying to save that gun. Peter going aggressive towards Squeaky right now. Thinks about it at least. He hasn't gone through, now he does. Doors open, Desi comes around the corner and the op takes him away, and it's going to actually get the next kill onto Semphis before finally getting dropped by Valens. But it's Devilwalk inside the site who has to do it all now because Pith has also gone into the grave. That allows the bomb plant from Valens. And Devilwalk's retreated because he's low on HP, 13 in fact, so back onto highway for him, but watch this flank. Lex perfectly timed, he's already there. Hiko, absolutely no information or no read that he was going to be there so soon. And Anger, he'll drop down on Valens. It's all going to be Mythic to close up, bring this back within 1. 7 rounds already for Maximum Effort, not too bad. But Mythic definitely want to close out this half now that they've got the economy rolling. And this has been happening for a few rounds now. Unfortunately, Maximum Effort not doing the best of job of watching those flanks. We've seen that it's kind of been happening on both sides, but definitely a little bit more in the favor of Mythic, where they just constantly work their way around the Maximum Effort players and surprise them from behind to just completely clean them up as they're not expecting them to move in from those areas. But now we get in here to the 14th round. Very, very close match so far, as we predicted. But nobody really too poor here as of yet. Semphis, of course, on that P250 just to try and save a little bit of cash and as well bring the nades onto the table so they can make their adequate entry. But this Molly does come off here onto boost early, and they're going to try to smoke it, but I don't really think it goes too well for them. So they'll hang back a little bit until this phase, and a lot more CT smokes coming off as well to prevent an entry on working its way in there through the main middle. But Devilwalk holding there that corner. He's going to be able to take down Sangst. Desi, he's going to move himself inside of the smoke to try and give him a more secure angle, but it doesn't work out. Lex picks up 2 more, and now all of a sudden it's a 5-on-2 as Mythic have this iron wall hold on middle. So far, at least. But Lex, now just on the backside of the vents, is going to drop all the way into B eventually. Bomb still at mid with Hiko and Valens. Devilwalk may have just spotted Valens coming through, but he's actually rotated back over. Not a lot to look for here. And again, Maximum Effort, they forced into this round. So the next one, they're going to be back onto a save. And Mythic will have a chance to wrap up the half. Valens is just going to try and peek up toward highway, see what they can find, get an early pick, and potentially overwhelm a site as they still have to have this defense split up based on the positioning of the terrorists and the amount of time that's on the clock. Valens will go down to Lex, who is waiting all the while, and it's down to just Hiko. 1-on-5, not likely going to happen here. Yeah, he's just looking to pick up anything he can, and unfortunately he's going to get caught a little bit off guard by this push from Pith, and that's going to be an easy frag for him to grab. So now tied up 7-7 the 15th round, getting started now. Let's see who will take the lead
coming into the ending of the first half, and it's looking likely that it may be Mythic as they're coming out of this one with a full buy, all nades, full Kevlar, everybody's got a kit, and as for Maximum Effort, they're forcing up here with Tech 9s and a P250 on Senks.
So we'll see if these Tech 9s can work out for them. This is exactly how Maximum Effort started off this half, in fact, winning with the Tech 9s on round number 2 in the Eco. So the initial smoke on A main, but they're going to go right through it. They've already flashed in, and Valens is already around the corner. There's the Tech 9 rush. This is why they're so fearsome. You don't have to stop whatsoever. And the movement speed, it overwhelms. Peter comes back with 1. So at least a chance here because that bomb yet to cross over, and there is vision for Peter, but he's not able to hit the first shot. And now the Molotov is going to lock him in position, just making sure that he's not going to take damage from that. But again, the bomb now is able to be planted. And in fact, it does spread. Oh man, that's so unfortunate. Mythic lose Peter because they thought he was safe, and eventually it did reach into him. Sank's now going to find Devil Walk, and we alluded to it. This is how it started for them. This is how it'll finish for them. Another eco round with these Tech 9s.
Anger, of course, moving in, does pick up 2, but Desi is going to drop him as they all push him towards the end. So Maximum Effort, they are going to take the advantage here at the end of the first half, 8-7. Very, very close, of course. But now switching on to CT side, this is where things are going to get interesting, more so for Maximum Effort, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. And I said that Mythic had a decent CT side. To give up that many rounds still, though, to Maximum Effort actually starts to concern me a little bit because I haven't seen as much from their T side as of late, specifically now that they have Devil Walk and not Naf, who has that individual skill to enter into sites. That said, Peter looks like he's performing fairly well. Pith as well looks excellent as we look back at some of the highlights in the particular first half, in this particular, in fact, in this round, the pistol round. But there's still a good chance here if they can get Pith firing the way he has been. He was excellent on A. But again, you've got Semphis now to contend with. Hiko's looking fairly solid. Desi had some individual performances. Everyone's looking decently on point right now for Maximum Effort.
Yeah, overall, I wouldn't say there's any kind of low-hanging fruit here for the Maximum Effort players. They're pretty much, for the most part, everybody's doing their job, and there's definitely been some very highlight-worthy plays coming out from these guys so far, and they were able to make it. They were able to pick up 8 rounds. Now, of course, on the CT side, at least for Mythic here on the T side, I should say, the big key here is going to be breaking the economy early, because that's one of the key things that the players from Maximum Effort rely on pretty heavily in order to carry them, and that was the reason they were able to do so on their T side, was they kept a fairly decent economy for most of that half and were able to continuously buy, which is a huge part of their strategy.
Yeah, 100%. I completely agree with that. And not only that, how aggressively and how well is that economy going to be managed from Maximum Effort? Do they start looking toward that double op that we talked about on this map? Because obviously that's a lot more expensive. It gives a lot more potential to be broken. And Mythic, if they can capitalize on that, give themselves an excellent chance. And of course, even better chance if they can pick up this pistol as we do start the second half. Semphis just going to peek out in toward mid here from the Z connector, but already 5 players from Mythic stacked up toward A. Pith at the squeaky, the rest A main. Peter just lurking back to make sure they're not going to get flanked out early.
Maximum Effort already catching on to this, though. Big rotation coming way over towards the A site. They're going to call this pretty quickly. The rotations are coming just a little bit late as the entry begins, but the smoke should give them the coverage they need to get on. And yes, absolutely, that grenade brings Lex down to 1 HP, and instantly those 2 players are going to get dropped. Valens tries to hold his angle, but Mythic Pyth is going to take him down. And now we see the rest getting into the picture here as well. Mythic is able to respond and push the players on Maximum Effort back, so they are going to be able to get this plant down. But keep in mind, Pith's so low. However, Anger brings it into his team's favor, but it's going to get traded back once again. Now everything falls into Desi. He's in a 1-on-2, pushes in, finds that headshot, but it's going to be Pith that closes it out for Mythic, and they tie it up.
I'm actually really impressed considering the amount of damage they took on the way through to the site, the fact that the rotation was there that quickly, and they were hesitant. Once they got through the choke points, they slowed it down. Pith came out from the squeaky door and just froze. They didn't get in, and Valens got in position ahead of him, and yet Pith survives to win out the 1-on-1, so really well done to recover that round from Mythic, because I thought it was going to slip away early, and now this is the economy start we were talking about. They can get into the rifles early. They have to be efficient, though. They need to make sure they don't do what they did in the first half and suffer to this eco, because Semphis, again, they are going to split up this time a little bit more with Valens playing solo on B, but they've got a 4-stack right now with Semphis leading the way on A. Now, the question is, are they going to get aggressive and push all the way through A main, or are they going to slowly rotate off? Because right now, all of the aggression from the T side, from Mythic, is at B.
They're being fairly passive here with this B push as well, just to keep it safe, of course, but Valens is going to have to make this call sooner or later. Lots of mollies coming out. He's going to be able to securely get himself to the back of the site, though, so nobody's going to be able to spot him yet. And now we'll see that rotation coming out for the Maximum Effort players. Valens tries to pop out, but only does about half of the HP there to Devil Walk. Brings him to 32 to actually correct myself, but now gets dropped much lower than that by Desi. Will take up a position here from Heaven. Can't really find anything, though. His Anger is going to be able to take him down. Unfortunately, for the players on Maximum Effort, it doesn't really look like you're going to have much luck in retaking the site with just the pistols.
Yeah, locked out already. Devil Walk down to 15. But it won't matter. The rest of the players are in great positions. Lex below the vents, making sure no one's going to come through from B main. Pit looking at the vents, making sure Lex isn't going to get dropped on. The rest of them all firmly focused where the action actually will be, toward Heaven and toward Tree. And right now, Semphis just wants to do damage, knock some of these guns down. They won't even get that far, although he has held them fairly close to the bomb site. So are they going to get away? Peter should be far enough now. Yep, they're going to be fine.
The big thing, though, coming out of this one, obviously, even with there being very minimal investment into this round from the maximum effort players, I don't really think we saw them really buy anything at all, with the exception of a flash or two on some of those guys. They are going to be able to save the money, and they're actually going to go, this is an extremely risky force right here, as they're going to go for it on the third round, despite picking up no kills in that last round. And as well, they're not being on T-side and having the bonus of a plant bonus, so now this is going to be a huge risk they're taking on the third round, but it could definitely catch Mythic off guard.
Super solid mid-presence right now. And it definitely could catch them off guard because, technically speaking, they've got more firepower with these rifles. Not to discredit the SMGs. Lex in one corner, Valen's on the opposing side of him. So close to each other, and yet neither knows the other is there. Valen's is actually going to slide back over to the other side so he can get in the front of Ents. This will be able to give him a position to support Hiko much quicker, but he needs to be aware that Lex is still there. So as that smoke dissolves, he needs to be into position where he's not in no man's land. Okay, so back to the other side. Good play by him. Meanwhile, still spread out for Mythic as they look for information.
So looking for a good way to find themselves, and we'll see a couple mollies getting tossed out here to hopefully force out the positions, but Valence actually gets killed by that molly somehow. Not sure where that ended up blooming out from, but he's going to end up going down due to that. And now Hiko as well, holding over here in the mini pit. It's going to be Pit that takes him out quickly, but Desi coming out with 1 and 2 here on the pit, and Peter Anger finally going to be able to take him down, but now it's a 2-on-2, and Mythic starting to doubt if they still want to push into the site or not.
35 seconds. They do have time to reconsider, but not a lot. They've got to make the decision now, and it is going to be go. So 2 versus 2. Smoke Bloom, a little bit of a gap, but fortunately for them, Semphis was on the wrong side of it, so he didn't spot that cross. That allows Bomb to go down, and Lex doesn't even need to join on top of the site. He's got a better post-plant position in mind as he gets all the way back in toward B-main. 13 HP only for Sangst as he looks to try and come back in through Heaven. And he'll wait for Semphis to clear the opposing angles, and then enter together they go. So far, so good, or is it? Not at all. It's going to be all Mythic. Lex finding one. The assist on the other as Anger takes down Sangst. And Mythic, that early force buy. We talked about economy going against maximum effort early on. Well, that's a perfect way to start that.
Yep, absolutely. That's gonna put them pretty far down here in Mythic as well. Free to go for their upgrades, and now they have basically 0 risk on this next round, of course, unless we see a clutch play for maximum effort.
So Bomb going to be dropped over to Lex. Peter making sure that where they are on an eco, they're not going to push into the B tunnel, so he stays all the way back toward T-spawn, but it's a stack on A. All 5 players this time, not Valen's alone at B. All 5 players inside the A side and very forward positions as well, as that smoke is bloomed at the front of A main. Single flash in, and all they go. Valen's was the one to throw it. He falls back just in case they hit B. And so far they haven't found anything. Now they will eventually run into Anger, who does take down Sank, but Desi, he gets right back into Pith. So far it stays even, 4-on-4. But the read and react is here. Mythic heads back over toward B.
And it's all going to be put on the Valen's shoulders now as he has to try and hold this site off against the push that's going to be coming in for Mythic. Unfortunately, it's going to be very hard to do that. Gets smoked off. Not really any sort of angle that he can try to look through unless he fully pushes through this one. So he'll actually be in the smoke and work a way out of it here in a second. He does get himself into the corner, but everybody from Mythic is repositioned out of his way at this point, and now I think Lex may have spotted him. Actually, not really looking like it, as they're just going to sit safe in those quarters for now. But the rest of Maximum Effort also going to try to rotate in and go for this retake. Peter ready for this, of course. He's going to catch Semphis off guard. He drops him. Now they've got that angle clear. Devil Walk also taking out Valen's, and that's another kill coming out for him as he's going to take down Hiko. Now it's all on Desi, and again, not really a lot of hope for him. He's already fallen back. He wants to save that AK.
He's got no choice. There's no need to overextend here. Grabbing that gun, specifically after their economy just fell apart after the force buy, is a big victory. Well, it's not a big victory, let's be real. Winning the round would be a big victory, but it's a big consolation prize.
Absolutely.
Is a better way of putting it. But 4 members up as well for Mythic. This is the other aspect of this, is that they only lose the single member. Now their economy can start to build. And without buying 58-50 for Devil Walk, that's another round already in the bank. Peter, 34, he'll be close to another round. Maybe not the op, depending on how this one plays out. But Anger is in an easy position to drop one out if he had to at 8,050. I can't even do numbers anymore in blue. I can do Kellers, though.
Yeah.
My co-caster Yellow, take it away.
So now we see Mythic here. Moving in, again, fairly stable positions here. Not a lot of aggression coming out fairly early as they kind of just reach their fingers out to try and see exactly where they can find a little bit of luck here. Maximum Effort kind of doing a fairly default split as well here with 1 player holding out towards Highway. 2 more on B and then 2 more on A as well. Pith will be popping up with the door squeaky here fairly early. Going to bait out a couple shots here. He's going to drop that Molly as well to reposition anybody that may be back over there by the forklift boxes, but very quickly corrects that. He starts to fall back.
Semphis is in a prime position to get up Highway quickly, but the problem is Hiko's already dropped out the opposing side of the vents, so if he does that, he gives up a lot of mid-control. So Desi still needs to make sure he stays alive with Sanks. They need to be full efficiency here. But Bomb's still in the hands of Lex. They have the option to work back over to B should they choose. And Devilwalk is slowly leading off in that direction, as they haven't found a kill, an early pick, or much read on the defense yet.
Sanks was able to connect a decent amount of damage over here on a Pith, so they still know he's here. Obviously, they don't know they've connected the damage, but they still have a pretty good feeling. And I think Pith has actually called for the push to come over here, as they're rotating 2 more inside of A main now, and a couple other closer to mid, ready to push that bomb carry in. And that's going to be the case. The only one that's not moving in is Peter, as he's going to watch their backs for now and wait to see if we end up seeing Semphis push mid, as we were talking about before. But now the trades begin. Sanks is going to be able to take down Anger. Pith trades it back, but Sanks again with another nade kill. He drops Lex, and that beautiful spray finds 2 more headshots and drops both Pith and Devilwalk. Now it's all on Peter, and he's got to run for his life with 12 seconds on the clock.
Yeah, so it's his turn to be on the save this time. Again, their economy's decent. They've got another round in hand, but this is a good start for Maximum Effort to get back in. Bring it back to 11-9 as time will expire, and Peter, he'll get away with this. Semphis picking up actually that second kill that Sanks looked like he hit with that headshot. It was actually a support frag from the opposite side as he came back over from the forklift.
Mythic still with a decent amount, so they are going to be going for another rebuy here too, thanks to their multiple round takes that they've had here. One of the players is looking a little bit low, so it does look like we are going to have... Actually, no, apologies, got to correct that. I thought we were going to have a Tech 9. I thought Anger thought that too, but one of the players had enough to drop him for an AK.
Well, Anger last round had 8,050 after his buy, so he had more than enough to drop out. And Peter holding on to the op, that would have been the expensive drop they had to go for. So it was really good, actually. If you could save any weapon, that's the one you want in that position. So they've definitely managed the economy well, considering that round went so far against them. We're going to see Devilwalk, Anger. They're both inside A main right now. Again, Pith playing his lurk position out towards Squeaky. And it is still an A bias as Lex looks to join in on the raiding party. I want to see a little bit more mid control, though, come out from Mythic at this point, because the straight-up A takes are slowing down quite a bit when the weapons come out. And again, Semphis is in a hot spot on highway to rotate over, but they've got an open mid because Hiko and Valens are both playing inside the B site. So if they could get a read on that and figure that out, there's a really good chance for them to split on highway at A.
Yeah, and I mean, just keep in mind here too, all the pressure that Maximum Effort is putting onto it. If they manage to work their way in here and find those entry frags and take out Semphis here early and at least bait another player to move off the site, then there's a pretty big chance they can get a huge start to the round and pretty much have their pick of a site. But now we start to see an interesting move here coming out from the players on Mythic, as they're going to move 3 back over here into the B halls. Anger and Pith will be joining them, so finally a change up in the strat. They're going to go for a B take instead of the usual A take they've been working so far this half.
Good late smoke on A from Pith. That's going to hold Desi. And Semphis didn't even spot anyone crossing over, so although he's close to B, he doesn't have the direct read. He does preemptively rotate back over, but 2 players inside the site may not be enough to hold. Valens goes down. Hiko's still there. Hiko, he's still there. Devilwalk, turn around and find your enemy, but he hasn't done so. Anger's going to make up for it, though. He'll find both Hiko and Semphis. So Desi's the next one in line to try and take this site back into the control, but 8 seconds left. That bomb has to go down right now. Unfortunately, it does.
And perfect smoke setup there to deny any re-entry from the Maximum Effort players. Just as of yet, Pith holding a good position here too as Maximum Effort. They're just trying to find a way. Sanks, though, just runs in through the fire, down to 28 HP. Pith's going to take down Desi, but Sanks is able to find Peter after that to trade out. He's also going to take out Anger, so he brings it into a 1-on-1, but Pith comes outside of checkers, takes him out, and saves the round for his team to bring it up to a scoreline of 11-9. 12-9, apologies.
Beast mode, Sank. No fear to get in there. I'm surprised he didn't go down to Anger on low HP, so that made things awkward. Luckily, Pith holds true and wins out the round, and that time, though, the efficiency. It doesn't stay there. They'll be able to buy by winning it. Forced buy, really desperate buy right now from ME.
And this is what we were worried about this is what we sort of were kind of like, oh, is this really going to be worth it for them to push it at this point? Again, they're really only down by 3 rounds. It's definitely getting close to that constraint point for Mythic, but yeah, we'll talk more about that in a second here as Mythic is going for the early push here. Pith pops out, not able to find anything though, and Semphis will end up taking him down.
He read that super well. He actually pre-flashed that, expecting that there might be a push coming against him. Still drops though. Gun's not exactly in a re-grabble. Actually, they did. Desi ran all the way up to grab that. So beasting it up and just gets in around the corner to pick that up before Anger got in a position to make him pay for it. He's low on HP, down to 46 after that exchange, but having an extra weapon, considering the scattered buy they had, is going to work wonders. And keep in mind, Desi also had armor at the start of the round, so now he's fully equipped. But meanwhile, it's all going back over toward B. And it's Hiko alone this time. Semphis is going to flash into A main, meanwhile, as we don't see that happening on the other side on screen, but this will give them the information, and the rotation comes out immediately after. So it's now or never for Mythic if they want this B site. Valens is smoked as well, so this means it becomes even harder. But Hiko forward position works out well, double for him.
And now Hiko's going to move in, trying to pick up the third, but we do see that player there, Peter. He's going to be able to get around the corner just in time. Anger's still in this play as well, and he's actually going to drop down and find Hiko as he exits the vents. Now they've got a way into the site. 30 seconds on the clock, so still a decent amount of time to work it, but Sanks, unfortunately, going to kill the dreams of that one as he takes down Anger and leaves Peter again to try and save his op with only 14 HP and 20 seconds left on the clock.
And the big kill, the big impact that Hiko had there by picking up those 2 kills was the second one was the bomb. So that was it. Round was committed. All they have to do is hold on to that. And this is a great win from Maximum Effort, again, to start off this round by getting that extra AK, that additional AK on Desi. Yes, he didn't get to use it a whole lot in this round, but this is going to help their economy moving forward. And again, Pitt anticipated that push and still didn't win the exchange as 2 players came through. So good job by Semphis to collect that kill. And the Hiko double was just absolutely huge to hold that site.
And now Maximum Effort really starting to swing things back here. We have to see what buys are going to come out here from the players on Mythic in this round. And it does look like, again, they're just going to take it a little bit light here for most of their players. The Tech 9 does come out from Anger once again as he was floating a little bit higher above, but as for everybody else, the big weapon is going to be Peter in this matchup as he did manage to save that up. And look at this boost coming out.
Yeah, this is a conservative boost. You don't give yourself too much exposure toward middle. You'll catch anyone in transition from Z up toward highway. iBuyPower used to use this a lot way back. But there's a lot of a push, or a big push right now, in fact, from both Semphis and Valence coming through B, and Lex might get caught by this inside the big garage as Valence, oh, he gets taken down. Excellent first shot by Lex. Puts him on very low HP. Very easy to clean that up with the P250, but they still have Semphis to deal with, and he hasn't been spotted yet.
And now Semphis very, very slowly pushing around. Might be able to catch Peter here in a second as he comes up behind these players, but Lex again spots it, not able to find the frag, and now he's going to drop 1, 2, looking for the third, but can't find Peter there, so he's going to be able to correct the issue. Now it's a 3-on-3. We're waiting for Mythic to go for their entry on the A side, as it looks like they are going to actually fake it out. I should correct myself. Peter in here is looking for the peaks come out, looking for these players on maximum effort to try and expose themselves. And the other 2, they're already rotating over to B. And take a look at the push coming out here as well. I believe that's coming out at the moment here from Hiko as he tries again here to catch these guys early.
Semphis' timing on those 2 kills was massive because they were getting ready to go for the boost. Peter had to fall back off that, and it slowed down everything inside middle just by getting there when he did. If they got through middle, that was an easy A split. Yes, Semphis was still going to be on their heels, but it brings it back to a 3-on-3. Now, this still has to split up the defense. It forces them to play a little bit more thin. Desi's in a swing position at truck. He can definitely support onto Sanks, but they're already inside the A site. Sanks hasn't exposed himself just yet, so Desi actually able to find the first kill, and Sanks still being passive in the site. He's going to take down Pith, who gets aggressive toward Quad, and now he's got a chance to take down the last remaining player and the bomb carrier. Does so successfully, so 1 round the difference yet again.
And we're just getting closer and closer to that contention point here. Unfortunately, Mythic, with that, or apologies, actually, fortunately, with that save that they managed to pull off in the previous round, they are going to be able to challenge it. And actually, I think we're going to have a pause coming out here at this point. I think this is from the Mythic players, and this is hopefully a perfect time for a tactical pause as they need to take a step back here with the match getting this close once again and think about how they're going to try to re-pull this back.
Oh, and the advantage that we talked about that they needed to get, and the advantage that they had was the economy. That's now gone, so this is the perfect time for a timeout. They're in a position where they could go for the force buy. I'm not sure I want to see them go for it. I want to see Peter get the op out and be a little bit more sustainable with it. He could. He's got 5250, but he would be really light on it. And then you're putting a lot into this round, where it's still going to be potentially 12-12. You're going to throw away a lot of economy. You know, if it was, you know, match point, definitely, absolutely. Yeah. Or even if they were on 14 rounds, absolutely, go for it at that point. But I'd like to see them be a little bit more conservative here.
Maximum effort still kind of at a very close point to where you could say they're stable or unstable at this point. The amounts are fairly low. Hiko has yet to buy, still sits at 4750, and a lot of these other players post buys are sitting at less than $1,000. Sanks at 150 right now, so they're still a very fragile team. All Mythic has to do is get 1 round on the board here to try and break them, and then once again they'll have pretty much complete control of the match.
In reverse, though, speaking about that force, if they've been keeping a track of the economy on the opposite side, if they know that they are low on income on maximum effort, if they force it up and win this round, the same thing happens in reverse. They get the advantage because they'll break ME immediately and the advantage comes back. They go to 13-11, potentially 14 pending any eco, and they're in a great spot. So this is definitely a call right now that will determine the rest of the game massively in terms of money. So we'll see. Fallen, there he is. We said he stepped in this time. It's the shoe on the other foot. It's normally Peter who helps Keed out by being a motivational speaker when he coaches for them, and now it's going to be Fallen who's actually stepping in to help out Luminosity as the new Luminosity player.
And Fallen, of course, has been really helping these guys out today. I was even watching him backstage before the match even got started, and he was sitting there. They were watching the previous match, even trying to guide him through some of the stuff that CLG was pulling at, as I think they're hoping to make it through this match and trying to figure out what exactly they can do. He really wants to help that team out and try to push them through to qualify for Cologne.
And the question's been answered. They've gone for the buy. Peter's going to go immediately for that glass cannon with a smoke and a flash. So that puts him on 0, and that, like I said, is a big investment. Devil Walk forced to just go with the Tech 9. But they do have the 3 AKs out. It's going to be Lex, Pith, and Anger. And they're going against essentially the same thing on the opposite side with a slight upgrade in the fact that Devilwalk's Tech 9 is a FAMAS in the hands of Valens.
And only 2 smokes after they toss these initial ones out the mid. Peter almost grabbing a shot early on, but he is going to get tabs, and that's actually a pretty good bounce grenade there.
And they're going to go for the boost in A. We haven't seen them do this yet, so this could actually catch them off if they head that direction, because right now it's all going down on the B side. And Hiko and Valens are winning the exchange. Oh, Anger. Bit of a misplay. Looks for that initial shot as they line each other up, and he takes down his teammate instead.
Valens now falling back a little bit, too, to get himself into a better position. Lex looking for Valens, but it's actually going to be Anger that manages to find him.
Timing.
Picks off the headshot, and now, as we're going to see here, Maximum Effort players moving themselves in. Lex completely stuck inside here. Sanks, he is going to find the re-entry here from the Maximum Effort players, and now it's all on Anger's shoulders as he has to try and pull off this 1 versus 2 somehow, but unfortunately...
And look at Desi.
Yep,
Desi's still
sitting right behind him. So he's probably going to catch him right off guard. And there you have it. Picks off the headshot, and that's the tie now, 12-12.
Well, that was the gamble. If they'd won it, they would have broken the economy. Instead, it's their turn to sit back on the pistols. So close when that initially started out, but such an early play to get out of A with the aggression and get hot on the heels inside the vents. And Hiko, again, he's a rock inside that B site right now. So many impact kills from him. We'll see the MP9 come out for Valens again. I mentioned at the start of the match, he's all about giving guns to other players. He knows his role. He just has to lead, so he'll limit himself to the MP9, but everyone else on full weaponry, and Desi, in fact, having an AK that he's picked up from the last round. And Hiko again already. He's taking down Devilwalk. Pith getting back into him, though, early with the deagle. Nice shot indeed, but it's going to be all on B. If they can get this bomb plant down, there's a chance for them to get back into the next round a lot sooner, though. Pith needs to do it right now. Good job.
Valens moving his way and completely clearing out the site, and now it's all on Peter at this point. Peter completely closed off. I'm really not sure what happened there with Valens. Peter, however, is going to be able to find that op for himself, but very quickly gets closed out, and that's going to be an easy defuse coming out. I'm really not sure what happened there. Valens was sitting right on the site in front of those guys, and for some reason it didn't catch him.
I think they were 1 goal and 1 goal only. Commit to getting that bomb down. So the initial play was get in, get that bomb in position. 2 players already down. Valens just has to stick the plant, and it was a success. I mean, now they're going to have a lot more money to work with. They can get Peter's op back out. They've got AKs around it. So that bomb plant is massive.
All right. So now we see what exactly the players on Mythic are going to try to do here from a strategy perspective of things. I believe we're also going to see op picking up here, picked up, I should say, by Semphis.
So not going with Sanks, they go back to Semphis, and Moses talked about that in the pregame about this season, how well he's done with that weapon. A lot of people don't think of him as an opper. They're going to go back to this boost as well in A because it wasn't spotted out the last time. They never went that direction, and they've also got a bit of a stack in that site because Semphis is there as well. Bit of a weaker mid, though. Anger's trying to take control of it. Really good push so far up, but he's got to be aware that Valens is there, and Valens is more than aware that Anger is, so he wins that first duel.
And now they take control again here. Valens trying to work his way outside and trying to get himself into a better position, but those op shots coming off. And Lex as well trying to get himself inside of the vents. He takes his position by the box and is going to get that molly. That's going to force a reposition on Valens. He jumps on top of the sandbag, so might be safe there, but unfortunately for him, Lex just pushing right up there. And now we see as well a lot more play happening further towards the A site where they're trying to decide here on the Mythic end, do they still want to push this round or do they want to try to pull it back? As they get to that 50-second mark, and with Peter finding the shot, they're probably going to commit to this.
And that's op versus op. Really well done by Peter to win that battle. So Semphis not able to contribute when he picks it up. But here's the thing. Desi's still in that position, and the flash is actually going to catch out Devilwalk on his way through. And yet somehow still gets the kill onto Desi. He's going to turn back and also take down Sanks. So really good entry from Devilwalk. As Lex, he'll get in position to plant the bomb. It's Hiko to come in and swarm his position immediately after he knows he's in the corner. So good shot. Down to a 1-on-2. Still a chance for Hiko here, but he's got to play this perfectly. So far he is. He takes down Pith as well, 1-on-1, and he's going to try and use this fake defuse to his advantage as Devilwalk, already contributing with 2 kills in this round, has to outdo Hiko, who's picked up 2 of his own. And the 1-on-1, it is going to go to Devilwalk. Well done, and Mythic back into this one right away with economy after that round.
Such a close match here, too. Both of these teams bouncing back and forth round after round here. And you can see the buddy's been sort of really thrown for a ride here because of this one. Both of these teams going all over the place with it. So now both of these teams are going to take a step back. Mythic, of course, is buying Maximum Effort. Thought about it for a second, but they're going to do an interesting buy here with 2 M4s coming out. And then Hiko, Sanks, and Valens all on pistols. Upgraded pistols for Sanks and Valens and a P250 for Hiko here. So this is an interesting buy. We'll have to see what they can pull off with this one.
And those 2 players did have a lot more money than their teammates, but this is definitely, as you say, interesting. That's one way to put it. Yeah. Valens wants to get aggressive in mid right now. Desi's back to support, as is Semphis, so a tri-stack this time not on the A site, but to try and support that mid position. So far, there's not really a commitment either. Pith already went to go for that lurk on A, but they haven't even put the 2 players in A main, which they normally do when they look to execute onto A. It's a lot more passive, so it could be interesting to see if they rotate back to B on this early read, because now they have not only Sanks, but Desi looking very aggressive toward the inside of that A hall.
And Valen's again playing as a very aggressive forward position here. Mythic, they want to move in through this door, but they've got to be careful here. Lex pumps out, and he is going to be able to pick up that frag there. Unfortunately, Semphis actually doing a lot of the damage to Valen's death, but Semphis makes up for that. He's going to be able to take down Lex, looking for Anger as well, and great job. That nade actually obscures the vision a little bit, and he's going to pick up the frag partially because of that one. Now holding a 3-on-4, however, Mythic down a man, and no way into that A site either, so they're sitting back and they're trying to find that entry frag that they can use to get into the site, but unfortunately it's not happening, and they're going to end up falling back and trying to surprise the players on maximum effort with an entry on the B instead.
Well, not so soon, because they'll fall back, potentially have that thought in their mind, but they are still going to look toward addressing this A, and they're going to put Devil Walk on the entry from main. Pit will come out, so let's see what the Swedish contingency can do, as Peter's just going to wait at beside with that bomb and look to the entry to be successful, and Pith gets one. It's traded, though. Desi's still at quad, and he's able to dodge out the initial refrag, but it's Peter to come through with the pistol, winning out on Desi. This lets Peter put the bomb down as well, but 4 seconds, he gets it in time. They're tight inside the site, though, not a lot of room to work with, but Peter, he never needs a lot of room when he's got the op. Semphis already dropped. It's down to the one-on-one. Low HP, and Peter's going to pull it off. It's 14 for Mythic, and bye-bye money on maximum effort side.
And this is absolutely ginormous here with maximum effort just doing that force that they had done previously where they went for the 2 M4s and the pistols. They're not really going to be able to afford too much in this round, so they have to save. And this almost, unless we see a huge mistake made by Mythic, this almost guarantees match point for them.
How close has this game been? There's been 2 or 3 rounds that, had they gone the other way, the shoe would be on the other foot entirely. The economy would be out of reach, and Mythic may not even be out of 11 rounds at this point. And yet they keep pulling it off. And the rounds themselves, not only that, have been extremely close. Multiple times now that we've seen that one-on-one play. Peter's going to wait this out. Semphis getting aggressive, trying to get a read at A main. And he's going to pay the price for it, the heavy price of his life. Sanks now is the only one inside the site, but he goes quick to join, not before Lex can take down Valens as he tries to rotate quickly out of B.
A lot of damage going on to Sanks at this point here, and Hiko as well. Trouble holding off. He's down to 12 HP with Sanks at 15. He is going to lose his teammate.
Anger again. It's the same play. It's Pith again as they line each other up. So another TK. This time it may not have quite the same impact as they will secure this round. Desi, the last one left.
Isn't really going to end up battering that much as they still have pretty much full control. Desi's way out at this point with that deagle, and he's really just looking for eggs to try and deal eco damage at this point.
So match point Mythic.
And maximum effort. They are probably going to get one more buy to this one. The question will be, how solid of a buy is that going to end up being with their money situation kind of on the balance? How many grenades, how many full rifles, and even Kevlar, how much are they going to be able to bring to this party here?
Desi with the deagle can't do much. And keep in mind that if maximum effort lose this game, there's already no chance of winning the group. It goes to either CLG or Mythic at that point, and we already talked about the implications that has about the crossover format playing Cloud9.
Yep.
So the best they can do is book a date with them. I mean, it's a scary fate. We'll see if someone can pull that off, upset the juggernauts right now, but that's a long way ahead of us. That's not until tomorrow when we first got to figure out which teams are even going to be in those matches before we talk theory. But like we said, match point for Mythic. Anger, Peter, Pith, all looking toward the A site. Devil Walk going to go join them, and Lex has already pushed through the wall of smoke inside mid to try and get a presence, and there's no one prohibiting that at all because Semphis is at the truck. In fact, a little bit further, he's on the E-box with both Sanks and Desi in the site, and Desi, when the door opens, goes down. Sanks, he doesn't want the welcome visitor through the doorway, but Anger coming in from the garage is going to be able to get that shot quite easily, and Semphis has to run and hide, nowhere to do so.
Lex picking up the headshot onto Semphis. Now just 2 players left alive here from maximum effort, trying to bring this back into their control, trying to somehow save this match and going to save their chances of winning Group B here at the ESL One Qualifiers, but it's not looking good. Hiko looking for a way and completely flashed by this, but so is Anger, but Anger's going to pick up that frag anyway. Valen's trying to respond, but Valen's now sitting at 9 HP. He will be able to take him down, but there's the peek. It comes out from Lex, and Mythic are going to take this match with a final score of 16-13.
I'm pretty sure that was the score that I said.
Was it?
It was 16-13 Mythic, so they proved me correct. I'm gonna just sit there. I'm never right on predictions, so I'm gonna. The one time I'm gonna gloat a little bit. But no, that was an excellent matchup again. Both teams coming out really strong, and Mythic, I have to say, hats off to them. Their executions on A were relentless, and they paid off because I said their CT side. I talked up their CT side a little bit. It got 7 rounds, but it didn't really come out with the same form I thought. And maximum effort, it was the economy again that killed them. And you nailed that at halftime by talking about how that would be their Achilles heel, and that's exactly how Mythic took that fight. And not only that, taking the time out to call that forced buy.
Yeah, and very unfortunate there that, again, that this sort of became an issue for them. They brought it very close, and had they been able to stabilize that just a little bit more by picking up 2 or 3 more rounds, it definitely would have been a match that I said probably would have ended up going in their favor. But because Mythic did a good job of getting those clutch rounds here and there and destabilizing it from time to time, they were able to come out on top, and because of that, they're moving on to take on CLG.
Well, that's the thing now. It's CLG already in the upper bracket. We'll find out who's going to win in that match. And of course, it's now going to be the lower bracket set as well. And I mean, the crossover format makes such a huge world of difference. Tempo Storm's still going to battle it out with Liquid tomorrow morning in that decider matchup. There's still lots to play for. We said that second spot was entirely up for grabs, and that's definitely true. And again, you mentioned it in the pregame as well. Luminosity, now Mythic, the team that just took this victory, have had struggles on the LAN. They took their first LAN map victory last weekend at SIVO, and now they pick up another one here against the X-Nihilum roster with Hiko and Semphis on it. So very well done by them as we look at some of the action throughout the match.
I think at this point it's safe to say, as we check out a couple of the highlights here as well, that the play coming in and the strategical advantage that they were getting by picking up Devilwalk, maybe that's finally starting to show here. Maybe they're finally starting to get that kind of gel together and get that team synergy rolling as well. So hopefully this is a good omen for the players of Mythic, and hopefully we see more of that throughout this event against both CLG and anybody else they may end up playing.
And that was the pistol round there. We saw Pith won that out on a one-on-one. Again, we mentioned that as well. How many one-on-ones were there? And when you were talking about an economic game that was as tight as that was, any of those rounds that could have gone just one man the difference the other way could have entirely changed this result. It was very, very, very close. I don't know. I think this sets the tone. Group B, you said it was the fun group. It's definitely looking fun so far.
Yeah, absolutely. So this means, of course, that the guys on Maximum Effort, they are going to drop down into the lower bracket where they're going to face off against Elevate. And, of course, as we've mentioned many times already, the players here on Mythic, they're moving on to take on CLG.
That's right. And that said, we will jump over to an interview with none other than Devilwalk in his fine New Jersey. Thanks, Moses, and they'll take it away.
All right, thanks, guys. Standing here with Devilwalk. Congratulations on the win. One thing I want to bring up, I mentioned it on the desk. I wanted to, before I forget, you had an unorthodox drill this week that you wanted to do with your team, where you were practicing communication, working on them with those issues this whole past week, where you told me that you wanted to play some practices with zero in-game volume. You just wanted to have the communications of the people playing.
Yeah, I mean, it's the thing that we always commed very well, but it was a problem where you know, we weren't listening to the comms that we actually gave. So I think you know, it's something that could have helped, and so that's why I wanted to, you know, do it, to kind of get everyone focused on the comms instead.
Did it feel like that worked out for you? Or do you feel the communication was better with the team?
I mean, we talked a lot about the communication and reacting to it, and like we talked like before this tournament, I kind of felt like we always had like ideas what to do, but we never really, you know, never really dumbed down the details to, for example, like on Dust 2, like what do we do if they just go up cat and we have no control and Peter gets like falls down too long? Like, what do we do? What's our play? So we talked a lot about the details of how to do it and not stressing the situation. I actually think Fallen should get a lot of credit. He calmed us down a bunch and was doing good work.
Yeah, that was actually going to be my next question, is with Fallen standing behind you guys. You know, I got to listen to the last couple of rounds. He actually had some input as well, tactically, on what you guys were going to be doing in these rounds. I mean, was that something that you guys planned coming into here? Was that like a last-minute thing where he just happened to be here and you brought him up?
No, he just came here to the event, and it was kind of like Peter has been doing it for his team. So it was like, you want to return the favor? Kind of like just for a joke, and he's like, yeah, sure. And that's how it worked out. We didn't have anything planned that he's going to come here and do it, but he stepped up, and he was kind of important this game. So huge props to him. Cool.
Well, I mean, now the next question, with you coming over, that's very recent that this occurred, maybe 3 weeks or so now. I mean, have you felt like you've had a lot of time to really improve, make some changes that you think this team needed to move forward in the right direction? You haven't had much time with them.
No, we only had like, I guess, I don't even know, is it 2 or 3 weeks or something like that? But I mean, there's some things I feel like we've improved, but obviously we scratched everything we had and started from the ground up, and we're gonna have shaky results in the beginning, but we want this to be like a long-term project where we actually develop together and really create a unit and a team. And I believe we have the players, but you know, it's a long journey. It's not gonna happen overnight, and we've had a lot of flame in the forums lately, you know. You know, that's totally fine. We're just going to use that as another motivation to prove people wrong, so it's all good.
Cool. Well, congratulations on the win. You guys are going to be playing CLG later on in the winners match to decide who's going to go to that semifinal, but congratulations on the win here right now.
I just want to thank all my sponsors, and also big props to Anger. He was insane this game.
Yeah, Pitt as well also had a very good game. So congratulations. We'll see you a little bit later on. We're going to go to a quick break, guys, and then we'll come back with the next matchup in Group B.